Yo, what's going on, guys? We are back for another Chainsaw Man chapter, finally. But it's been like, what, 2 or 3 weeks? Oh my gosh. It's been too much, but this chapter, Fujimoto actually brought some heat because, of course, the Chainsaw Man is back. Denji is finally changed after like 30 or 40 chapters. I don't even know how many it's been, but chapter 152 titled Massage. And obviously, weird chapter name, but it makes more sense the further we go down. And obviously, at the end of the chapter, Denji fully explains it. But this chapter is very interesting and it's really breaking the status quo for part two, at least, because it's been pretty, I guess, slow and there hasn't been much fighting. There's been obviously some fight scenes, especially recently, but this chapter is full blown. It feels like we're in part one again, like especially with Denji's personality. But we see right away Denji, obviously, he's fully transformed into the Chainsaw Man and he's ready to go. But we see the civilians that are on the side that were complaining about, all these Chainsaw Man bullshit and all this stuff. They're like complaining, some of them are running away, and some of them are like calling for like public safety or like the police or something, saying like, there's a fake Chainsaw Man here or a Chainsaw Man wannabe. Please like come over here and help. And then we see Fumiko, who was being like held hostage by like the spearman. She gets thrown to the side onto the ground because the spearman and Sugo, the longsword man, they're ready to fight. They both like engage their, I guess, like transformations where Sugo rips off his hand and the spearman grabs like his spinal cord spear thing. And NAYUTA right here, this is like the biggest part that's sort of like leading into where stuff with Denji might be changing soon, because NAYUTA's like, Denji, I don't think the chainsaws are a good idea. Let's run. And Denji says, NAYUTA, get the fuck out of my way. And that's something that he would not say. And right away, like, this is red flags for me because Denji, he's like, he has an inner monologue coming up here, but he obviously knows that when he turns in the Chainsaw Man, Yoshida and public safety are going to come after NAYUTA. They already threatened him a few times. And Denji, he knows that they're serious because he knows sort of what Yoshida can do. But I think this is where he's going to start distancing himself from NAYUTA because, she's going to get hunted down if like she's associated with him. And then he's thinking like, aren't I the worst, Pochita? Like, they burnt down my home. They killed my dogs. And then he starts saying this out loud. He's like, yet I feel like $1,000,000. Like, thanks to you guys, I get to be the Chainsaw Man again. And he is hyped to be the Chainsaw Man. And again, where I feel like his personality is going to start shifting from when we saw him in this like downtime of him living his normal life. He seems to go back to his, like, I guess his regular like twisted personality. But Denji has grown a lot in these, like, I guess the past few chapters, especially in part two. But now it's going to seem like he might be regressing. And I hope not. I think this is just him being him. But either way, we know that Denji is sort of, I guess, finding his identity again because he's been in a depression. I mean, I'm pretty sure he's been very sad recently not being able to be the Chainsaw Man. Like, we even see in the chapters that are titled like A Normal Life or A Normal Life Extra or whatever it is. Like, he just looks depressed. He's going through his day-to-day life, super just bland. His face has no expression on it. While now we're seeing him saying like, I feel like $1,000,000. Like, I'm having a great time thanks to you guys. And in my head, this is obviously because he gets to be the person that he wants to be. He's grown up as this sort of outcast. He hasn't really been raised by anybody. He's holding this deep trauma with his father and all this stuff. And he's just not accustomed to the world. So he learns that he can have these powers and that he's the Chainsaw Man. And he starts like getting towards his dreams, like of being like a normal person and living a normal life. And that's all through his powers of being the Chainsaw Man. And then, when he can't do that anymore and he's living his normal life, his goal, he wants more and he wants to be the Chainsaw Man like he was doing before. That was a good rhyme. But either way, I think this is just where Denji, he's like noticing, I want to be the Chainsaw Man. I don't care if I'm helping people or hurting people. I just want to do what I want to do. All that to say, like, I think that he is sort of noticing that he wants to be the Chainsaw Man and nothing's really going to stop him from doing it. I mean, besides NAYUTA, and that's why I think he's telling her to like leave or like get out of my way and stuff. So we see everybody spring into action. But enough with the tangent. They're all fighting. Sugo and then the whip girl, who already was transformed earlier, she comes in, they start fighting. And then the spearman, he's like jumping into the air to do like a ground pound attack or whatever. But we see Sugo and the whip girl, and it seems like Denji's like, he holds both of them off. Like, he like cuts the whip girl's whips, I think, and then knees Sugo in the head. But like, the spearman, like the spearman, he's coming down with like his ground pound, and he smashes Denji right to the back with his spear and like pins him to the ground. And we see that the spearman, he's like, come on, Chainsaw Man, we know you can do better. Like, give us a real scare like that last time. Because, you know, last time that they fought, he was in that full Chainsaw Man form, full armor, 4 arms, just going crazy. And like this time, he's very relatively tame because obviously that wasn't Denji fighting and stuff. But Denji sees, you know, he's sort of stuck, and he's obviously bleeding and stuff. He's in pain, and all these people are watching to see what he's gonna do next. But instead of like, I guess, doing something you would expect, Denji decides to cut himself in half and the spearman in half. So this paneling is sort of interesting where right away I couldn't really tell what was happening, but like the panel after this shows like really well. But it's basically just a panel of him, like it looks like he ripped himself in half, but I'm not really sure if he like twisted his entire body around, because I'm not sure if Denji is capable of that, or if he just took his arm and just like cut both of them through. So I'm not totally sure, but either way, they're both cut in half, their legs are still up, and then their bodies, their torsos fall on the ground. And this is another funny part where everybody's like, what the fuck did he just do? Like the spear girl, like she's confused right away. She says something, and then we see a random bystander just puking his guts out from like just how gory this is. So, I mean, who wouldn't, like, that shit's just crazy. Seeing a dude cut himself in half and his opponent in half, like, nobody does that, but obviously Denji knows that if he just eats this dude's blood, he's gonna be able to regenerate. But we see Denji crawling over to the spearman, like just torso, and it looks like the spearman is in like intense pain. And this is another interesting part where, doesn't it hurt like the spearman to turn into his like form, or like the rest of these guys to turn in their forms like it does to Denji? Because we heard Denji's in a lot of pain when he uses his like Chainsaw Man form. Do the rest of these guys feel that pain? Because I'm not really sure. They don't really have like moving objects coming in and out of their bodies, so I'm not sure how that all works, but it seems like the spearman is in like intense pain. Like he's paralyzed on the ground from pain, but Denji, he's moving and it's fine. So that's where I'm thinking like maybe these guys' powers are a lot, like, I guess, less painful to use, as where Denji's is just like, he's got chainsaws coming in and out of his brains like at all times. Like we even see like him like cut his head sometimes to stop thinking about shit he doesn't want to think. So we know he's brutal, and we know he can take a lot of pain. And like, or his pain tolerance is very high, sorry. But basically Denji, he puts one of his chainsaws on the dude's neck and then uses his head chainsaw to cut into his head. And then when he like decapitates him, he like brings his head up and says, thanks for the food, while it's hanging from his fucking chainsaw. Just, this shit is just too fucking much. Like I said at the start, this is like part 1 vibes, where the gore and the intensity is kicked up to 10. Also, if you guys love the Chainsaw Man content, want new chapters every week, just please subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. Back to the video. But Denji, he starts eating the spearman. And obviously we know if Denji fully eats the spearman, or I'm not sure if he has to eat like the entire devil, or if he has to eat part of the devil or most of it, but if he eats the spearman, that like the spears, or the fear of a spear hybrid, will be erased from humanity's knowledge. I'm not sure if the hybrids are like the full like devils themselves, because obviously there's probably a chainsaw devil somewhere, and then we have the chainsaw man, you know, obviously like that. And then maybe there's a spear devil somewhere out there, and then we have the spear hybrid. So I'm not sure about that, but obviously the whip devil, she is afraid, or the whip girl, she is afraid about what's gonna happen, because she said spit him out. Like she even stutters. She's like, spit him out. So she knows what Denji can probably do. And at this point, Denji's sort of like, he's healing up at this point, because he's getting the blood in him, and his like legs are sort of coming on, but they're like backwards. So like obviously it's a little bit weird, but the whip girl like basically slashes, or like, I guess, whips his body back in half. And we see him sort of like fly off and then cut the whip girl's leg off. Like this is just action, just kicked up to 10. Like this is probably the most intense fight scene we've ever seen in this part. I mean, part 1 had some pretty intense fight scenes, but this stuff is just balls to the walls. And the best part is Denji's not saying like a thing, like he's not struggling. He's just talking about like, let me eat some food and shit like that. But she falls on the ground, and then Denji, he goes over to her, crawls back to her, whatever, with part of his like gut still hanging out. His legs aren't really fully attached yet, and he's just wailing on her like with his chainsaws over and over again. And he's saying, oh, are you saying that I should cook my food first? And obviously this joke probably makes better sense in Japanese, but he's like, oh, she's telling me like to spit that food out. Should I have cooked him first? And I guess that's sort of like a hint to Makima, because he did cook her and eat her. So he's like, maybe that's just a better way to eat people. But either way, she starts getting like just destroyed, decimated. She's calling for help. She's like, Sugo, please help me. And Sugo, he sort of hesitates because obviously he sort of admires Denji. He wants to be friends with Denji. And he's not fully bought in with them, I think, the rest of the hybrids. So he hesitates, but he still goes in, and we get this dope ass, like, I guess, scene of him like just going after Denji, pushing him back, and then we get this dope, like, just insane page of just Denji ripping into Sugo as he goes into him, and it's just like a mutual attack where they both go right through each other's, like, it looks like their hearts, but either way, they're like basically embracing in a hug, and we see Sugo, he's the one that's like, bleh, like he's making the noise, while Denji, he's standing up straight, he's spitting out a little bit of blood, but he's not making any noise. And another really interesting part, NAYUTA speaks up, and she's like Denji, like she's worried for him, obviously, because he just got stabbed through the heart, it seems like. But we see this panel of Sugo, he's sort of upright next to Denji, and then he sort of slumps. And like this is sort of, I guess, reassuring that idea of like Denji's like pain tolerance is insanely high. And like he says this later, but we know this man can take some fucking damage. And he's like, the thing about a massage is, and bringing it back to the title of the chapter, like too much force and it's gonna hurt. But there's a sweet spot in between where, you know, the pain just feels so good. And NAYUTA's like, what the fuck does that have to do with anything? Like, we have to get out of here. And Denji speaks up and says, you know what, NAYUTA? Maybe you shouldn't be around me anymore. And that just blew my fucking mind when I heard that, because Denji and NAYUTA, they've been like a pair. They've been like thick as thieves. They're besties at this point, like they're family. And I think it's just Denji's coming to the realization that, hey, public safety is going to start hunting me down. They're going to hunt you down. I don't need to be around you. And like, if I'm not around you, maybe they'll keep you safe, because obviously she's the control devil. She's probably going to be a very high like priority for public safety to get back, because obviously Makima sort of controlled most of Japan. And so like if they have another control devil, they can control her the same way and hope that she doesn't like do the same things Makima does. But I think that Denji, his idea is, if I'm away from NAYUTA, like she's going to be fine, because the only reason that they wanted her is like to hold like this, I guess, a threat above me, that, you know, if I turn to the Chainsaw Man, they'll kill NAYUTA. But if I don't have NAYUTA with me and I turn to the Chainsaw Man, it doesn't matter. Or if like they don't think that I care about her, it doesn't matter. I mean, that's just my headcanon right now. We'll see, I guess, in the next chapter. Then we have the last page, and it's a full page of Denji just like bringing it back to the massage metaphor he was talking about. And he's saying, for me, this is where it hurts just right. He's like, I'm feeling damn good right now. So this pain that he's been feeling in this fight, this is pleasure to him. Like, this feels good to him. And I'm mostly guessing it feels good because he's back in the Chainsaw Man form, and that he's able to just do what he wants to do. So like the endorphins, the adrenaline, and the ecstasy of it all is kicking in. But maybe it's just Denji does just, the pain that he used to feel now is just pleasure to a point. And maybe that's where all of the hybrids are, like I was saying before. Like maybe Denji's power, it just hurts him more, or maybe they just have more training to where they don't feel the pain from their powers. But from what I'm seeing, Sugo, he's hurting. Like he's slumped it down, like fully down. And Denji, he's having a great time laughing it up. And I guess that should indicate that Sugo is weaker, like durability wise or pain tolerance wise, same as the Spearman compared to Denji. So maybe we'll see that Denji is like the king of the hybrids. You know, he's the strongest there is. And I think it's so funny how they're talking about like, come on, Chainsaw Man, show me something scary earlier. And he's like, okay, bet. I'm gonna cut through me and cut through you at the same time. Let's see how that works. And nobody was expecting that stuff, and nobody expects Denji to be such like a sadist, or I think that's the word, where you like pain, or a masochist. That's the word. He just likes to feel pain, it seems like. So we'll see going forward how fucked up Denji is. But we do have another break week, which is pretty sad. But I mean, obviously, this is a great cliffhanger. Fujimoto does this to us all the time. But instead of like cliffhanger at the start of the fight, we see this full fight, and now we got to see what is going to happen with NAYUTA, and like whether or not public safety is going to take her away, or whether or not Denji's just going to leave without her. And I mean, This is, I think, a huge turning point in the story, and I've been talking about this in my earlier reviews, where I think the story is going to go like into overdrive soon, where we go into Chainsaw Man pacing. Like I think we might be going to the part where shit's about to go down. Like Family gets reintroduced. The fake Chainsaw Man might get reintroduced, or how that stuff happened at the start of the part. So I definitely think we are kicking up a gear in, I guess, pacing wise, to get to something that might be, I guess, the Death Devil eventually. So we'll see what happens, not next week, but the week after that. Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it. And also, sorry about not uploading for like the past few weeks. Shit's been happening, but I'm going to try to be more constant with the uploads, especially Chainsaw Man and JJK, which we got like another like 2-week break for JJK. So I think Chainsaw Man and JJK come out on the same week in 2 weeks or whatever. So I'll try to make videos about those, but obviously, life. But we're back for now. I got some other videos planned for you guys. But thank you for watching again. I really appreciate it if you made it this far. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. I'd really appreciate that too. But peace.